Which still, I cannot even believe how the fact that most of the turns in this particular board, even by the forms of the partner party standards, that just goes like pretty fast and quick to finish. Well, if all depending of the forms of less situation happens. So, anyways though, let's hopefully we can able to get into that warp pipe again, and hopefully we can able to actually bypass for that gosh darn that blooper bridge again. Well, if all depending of the forms of the luck again, but thankfully though, we did manage to get into that warp pipe again. Sounds true to me. And I do apologize by the forms of the actual microphone issues yet again, by the forms of the beginning of this board so far. For whatever reason, because it just keeps on, like, jacking out all the time, and I think this might be something to do with, like, the USB issues or something like that, or perhaps it may be something else. I can't really exactly could explain about this, because obviously that we do exactly know what the issues with our microphone at the time, but ultimately, though, we pretty much gonna be alright as it is, for now on anyway, because even then, that, you know. Alright, so looks like they've got ourselves, well, to be more specifically for Monty Mole and Goomba, they both got 5 due to that particular Goomba gets like 2 coins out of his dice block. Sounds true to me, but even then that's as far as we can able to think about it for the time's sake, and we'll go for Pie Hard again. So, we still have not played any of the new minigames yet though, for the time being. Yeah, but until like the later turns and all that stuff, then hopefully we can able to actually stumble across some of them for the time. But even then, we'll find out and see what happens there due to this, you know, the thing itself, I suppose. So that I digress though, and speaking of the forms of, you know that you mentioned this before, about the, there's no Nintendo Direct to be found around here so far. I don't know if it might still happening at this month, but we don't know exactly what the exact release date is going to be, however, though, because obviously, how the fact of the matter is, though, is that I believe we're actually on the halfway point already with the April month so far. Yeah, it could be probably true for that part, but even then, we'll see what happens there for the time's sake of beings. So, yeah, you probably get the idea. And sadly to say, we actually did lose on Pie Hard just because, well, the thing is, because of how the fact that we're actually getting quite close to these 2 players, so, yeah, that's definitely our fault for the time, so even then, we'll just have to, like, you know, cope with it, I suppose. So, but even then, that's as far as I can really think about this for the time, so, you know. Oh yeah, about the forms of, the actual current update for our YouTube channel so far, recently, do you know how I said that we said this before? About the fact the matter is, though, is that we would like to able to actually start over for our Let's Plays of Pac-Man World 1 for next month, and especially noticeable with Knight's Journey of Dreams at some point in September this year, and because of that, though, without any further delays or anything like that, I think that could be also the same applies for our Let's Play of Splatoon, because we keep on holding that up for as a Let's Play channel for, like, let's just say almost 2 years now, which even then, I felt still incredibly bad for able to actually left out Splatoon Let's Play as it is. But hopefully until when it gets to the point about the fact that I'm presuming that Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup didn't seem to able to actually get back into that game that much. But for what they're going to do, that they need to able to do that Let's Play again, but this time around though, for as a proper Let's Play without even like any sort of delays or anything like that, until it gets to a point until 2020 due to its prior to the forms of the first Splatoon game to be released for about 5 years. Well, at least until when it gets to the point until 2020, along with any other new Let's Plays for the time, but even then, let's not spoil things too much. So that I digress though. And do we get something from... Oh, really, Monty Mole? Ah, there goes Luigi. Ah, damn you, Monty Mole. You are very lucky on that part. And, as a result of that kinds of traditions, that what also is another reason why we decided able to actually, like, deleted the actual, like, the beginning portion of the Splatoon, original Let's Play for our channel, just because of our fact that yet again, that we need to focusing on current Let's Plays from now on though, because at this point in time, I would say we actually got about like 9 set of Let's Plays, or in this case less, or probably, I think I actually miscount on that. Let me double check quickly, because I know for the fact that, well, since we are still doing this at the moment, so even then though, I would seem to say that we're actually on the almost at the halfway point of the Super Mario Party Let's Play so far. Because after all, that, you know, we got a couple of, well, modes to able to focus on after the Partner Party, which, as we said this before, after we're able to accomplish Partner Party by all 4 of those boards, and basically we can move on to the next mode, which will have to be River Survival. So, just to make it a little bit more of a clarity, especially with the differences here and there, when it comes to any kind of modes in this game actually has to offer, but even then, we'll find things out. Alright, turn number 13, so naturally we're almost nearly towards the end of Watermelon Walkabout. Generally speaking, that's as far as we can go for this point, so let's go ahead and use that little hidden block card, so that way we can able to get this over with to get that star. So in this case, we finally got it. But again, you have to be extremely dead on with that particular timing with that little spinny wheel kind of system. But then once you're used to that, then you would able to get that star no problem. Yep, so there we go then. So anyways though, now we got 1 star out of the way. And I'm sure enough that Team Monty Mall did manage to get themselves a star pipe after all. So in this case, they might actually use that until the next turn. So, but we'll see what happens there. But anyways though, let's go ahead and once again use the Rosalina dice block here, and that was actually pretty low of a number, but I suppose we could take it, but alongside with 2, then we would be okay. Yeah, to be practically honest with this point. And another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that during the actual weekend actually, that speaking of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 9, the final season of that particular show, recently we did manage to watch the most recent episode by the forms of episode 3 by the forms of, I think it's called Uprooted, which I will say though, that episode is kind of interesting because it now usually focuses on the Student 6, which is pretty cool if you ask me, because last time they did done this, ever since in episode 22, in Season 8, which is probably the most uniquest episode of the entirety of Season 8. And it seems more accurately though, because, you know, they're mainly focusing on the Student 6 perspective, which as far as I can tell, because of how the fact that after the actual, like, well, we're gonna have to mention about this right about now, that how the fact of the matter is though, is that the Tree of Harmony has been completely destroyed. And as a result though, well, I apologize for that spoiler territory, because even then, that it's been about a week ago since the first 2 episodes has been up. Well, usually speaking of such, but whenever we did manage to watch the Uprooted, that for the actual name of the episode, we have to watch it in individual clips because, you know, for some stupid reason is that the copyright claims is still a thing, mind you, but even then though, that we have to watch it on a separate parts. But, you know, it's runs quite fine for the most part though, but it's just that whatever reason, in that particular, like, in the middle portion of the episode, what I've watched, that, the actual broadcasting is kind of interrupted. I think it's most likely because that, I think in most countries these days, well, not in our country, mind you, but even then, for some countries, they do have some weather issues, like, for instance, thunderstorms or something. Which, as far as I think I've heard about that, but even then, though, they haven't really paid that much attention to that. Anyways, though, so in that case again, so, I think we've played this, like, I think this is actually the second time playing this on this, board anyway. Yeah, because, you know, this is gonna be, like, multitude of times that we're gonna be playing through the exact same minigames again. But, don't worry, whenever we get to River Survival mode, hopefully we can able to play new sets of minigames around here, so... Or in this case, by the forms of that particular, sort of tradition, then, you know, we probably get the idea for that point. So, as long as with the forms of, or as well as, rather, by the forms of, the soundstage, and, I think that's about it, obviously. Well, apart from Toad's Rec Room, which we're practically gonna do that after the minigames mode, and some extras here and there, but even then, that's as far as I can think about it. So once again, we did manage to win this, but this time around though, by 4 points above from the other team, so how about that? So yes, let's go ahead and do a nice little high five thingy right here, and sure enough, we can able to do it just fine. But I digress. So, Another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that speaking of Rayman for the iOS version is the fact that as far as I've noticed that the iOS version of you know, the Rayman 2 The Great Escape, and especially noticeable with Rayman Classics by the films of the you know, the triumph of the films of the 20th anniversary of the original Rayman game also came out on the iPhone devices. I believe that those two games have now been removed. I think this might be something to do with like complex controls, or in this case like clunky controls than anything. Or perhaps it may be true, or in this case something for this matter, it might be something completely like something else worse. So, oh boy, do we even make it there? Oh no, shoot. This is gonna be a little bit of a struggle right there, because after all, that I'm kind of worried about the fact that if Multi-Mole makes it there, then we're able to traverse through another way for able to actually go in for that little client, but even then, we'll have to go for that anyway. Shoot. We actually off by one space from that particular gridding system, but apart from that, we actually get the matching bonus. But even then though, that, I think it's pretty obvious at this point, we've actually got a lot of coins up by this point. So let's see how well the Team Multi-Mold will actually get this. Or if maybe not, but we'll see what happens here. Okay, so it looks like Goomba may actually use the ally phone, so that way he could able to call out Waluigi. And another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that you know how the fact that there's actually a the shopping system on this particular board, but just like in forms of how it does it in you know, in most certain happening spaces, then we need to directly land onto that unless if the thermometer doesn't completely go up. Yeah, that might be true, because even then, yeah. Oh, please don't tell me he did made it. Oh my god, he did! He got very, very lucky right there, even despite the fact that with the forms of the unlucky 13 number roll. Oh jeez, that's underwhelming. And yeah, looks like we now go down to second place by this point, but hopefully we can catch up at some point, but we don't know completely yet, just because of the star space of movement, and especially noticeable with the actual like dice roll luck-based element. But even then, we'll find out and see what happens there, especially because of how the fact that you still need to rely on island hopping still, which to make matters even much more tedious than ever, but because of how the fact that, well, you just have to cope with this kinds of stuff. But anyways though, let's see what Goomba is gonna get. That Tornado, so I don't know if he's gonna be using that yet, but even then we'll find things out until the next couple of turns. So, alright, so the next star space is gonna be back onto the Pineapple Island, which I don't think we can able to make it there due to the broken sand bridge. So, I don't suppose we can't even seem to make it by this point at this point, but hopefully we'll get this by time. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Alright, so new minigame. I'm pretty sure enough we played. Oh no, get over it. No, oh god, I hate this minigame so much. Because again, the actual timing on this minigame is completely strict in my opinion. But even then, we'll figure that out then. Yeah, this is what I mean. The timing on the jumps on this thing is so strict. And because of this though, if you jump it a little bit too early, or especially too late, then chances are you're still gonna get knocked out no matter what. So, generally speaking, I just despise this minigame so much. But even then though, that will point things out in a later time throughout the years, especially because of how the fact that if depending of the next Mario Party will be announced for the Nintendo Switch, then we can able to do a somewhat of a retrospective of every single Mario Party games. So how the fact that, well, expecting the console installments, and especially noticeable with the handheld entries as well. But if depending of how well the editing software we can go, then although the only thing is missing from here is that we'd love to able to get ourselves the AV cable to the HDMI slot, because even then though, to make it the quality itself a little bit more of improvement or anything like that, but we'll see. And it looks like we're now into the green pipe for the 4th time in a row. But obviously, the fact that the only things we still need to worry about is, of course, trying to go across the Blooper Bridge. Because I still find that to be kind of strict on the timing aspect as well. Because even then, if you're not safe or anything... Oh, what do we get? Oh, a double card. That could be very helpful though, especially if that, if we actually purchase like, whenever we get to like, the last 3 turn events, then I'm sure enough we can able to actually get ourselves like 4 stars in one price. So, and generally speaking, because we got a lot of coins by this point, due to the minigames that we continuously winning, well, a couple of exceptions by the forms of, Pie Hard, just because we accidentally got close to the forms of the actual players from the start, and, Get Over It due to the strict timer, or this case, not so much for strict timer, but in the forms of the strict timing jumps. Which again, I'll point things out whenever we get to the later portions of the actual later modes. So yeah, you probably get the idea of that. So here's though another minigame, so let's see what we got. Perfect fit again. So generally speaking, that's again, just like the forms of how it does it in Mega Fruit Paradise board, is the fact that you know that little thermometer on the Pineapple Island? That if it goes like completely go all the way up, the ice cream will once again melt, and you can't able to actually access the shop again. So, but even then, we haven't really come across into that yet, just because of how the fact that, well, just like in any other boards of this game so far, well, at least as far as we can able to play through that anyway, this is actually the first time playing this board. So even then, that you know, just like in any other boards of this game that we actually did manage to experience on. So, but we do know most of the boards, but even then, though, that when it comes to like playing them, first time experiencing them. Yeah, definitely true. Alright, so we're still in second place, but now we're on turn number 16. And there's also another thing worth mentioning though, is the fact that with the forms of that, the actual pickup that you can able to actually pick up on this board, which is by the forms of, I would say the silver pick, which is kind of like the same thing for the actual, like, the treasure key from Domino Ruins Treasure Hunt, and especially noticeable with the pickaxe from Gold Rush Mine, except the noticeable differences between the 3 items is of course the actual design, and especially noticeable with how the fact that with the actual functions that you actually use. So, like, I was assuming that it's always going to be located on the Pineapple Island, and thankfully though, we can now come across into the forms of that stupid bridge. About time to able to actually bypass that, even though we should have dealt that in the first place from the very beginning, but even then, no, we'll consider this a little bit of a robusted move. But I digress, so let's see what we got. Another hidden card, another hidden block card. Okay, thank you. But hopefully we can get ourselves another star from that. I'm not exactly sure when, but even then, we'll find things out by that time. Alright, so it looks like Monty Mo, he's gonna be stuck in that first island for a long time now, and especially noticeable how the fact that, well, Goomba did manage to able to get some progressioning so far, especially because that how the fact that he's now still on the Pineapple Isle, and yeah, he's gonna be using that Tornado on Pom Pom, and I think we might actually lose 6 coins. 6 should be alright, but it doesn't even compare to the forms of like 10 coins or anything, so. And I would classify for saying about the fact that Goomba might actually get to the forms of that super pick, you know, that particular item he's going after for. Yeah, I think it might be true, because even then, I don't think he's gonna come across into that star space anytime being. Or for the time being, that's what I meant to say. I'm quite surprised that we did not even come across into Battle Arc spaces so far, which is considerably strange, but even then, we'll see what happens for the have a new game. So, a new minigame at long last. Roll the obstacle finish line. If you have a loop-sided number of pedals, or pedalers, consider the balance carefully. So, basically, this minigame is kind of like how we did on, Road to Victory minigame from, Mario Party 8. But the noticeable difference is this time around, though, it's basically a team-based minigame. So, and also at the same time, it always kind of inspires like the ones in the forms of how it does it in Rowboat Battle in Mario Party Star Rush, but except the fact that you don't have to rely on the microphone controls this time around. Which, even I know, that makes it a little bit more of a questioning thing right there. And the only thing you need to watch out for is, of course, the actual, like, cheap, mecha cheap right here. So, just in case of how the fact that you don't even get blocked by him by circumstances. So, let's do a nice little high-five thingy again. But of course we didn't beat our new record, but that's fine, because even then though, whenever we get like, well, if all depending of what records that we might actually get to this point, I think this is all down to the forms of, once again, ally system. So, but unfortunately though, since we didn't beat the records, this means we are far lacking with allies again. It seems for whatever reason, in every single board so far, well, one exception, why it's about to be due out at next weekend or something, that we seriously are still pretty much in unlucky situation with all this allied stuff in mind. But even then though, that, well, as far as we already know about this is the fact that partner party can sometimes really try to screw us over with the actual luck factor to it though. Like even then though, that just really gets to test the patience or anything like that. Or perhaps it's maybe something else, I don't know. But either way though, let's get ourselves a 6. And looks like that I don't think we can able to actually do anything with, you know, these blank spaces. So instead, we have to land on that, that lucky space and whatnot. So just in case we can get something out of it, such as like, steal, or in this case, take 5 coins from, depending on what players they have. And of course, we got another item right there. So in this case, we got ourselves the golden drink. And let's see what, okay, it's just, that, okay. Because I keep on thinking to ourselves about the fact that, after all, we did manage to use the hidden card block, or in this case, the actual, like, the hidden block card after all. But, the only rewards we can only get into is just coins, and that's pretty much it. And it looks like Goomba might actually have enough space to able to actually get to the forms of the silver pig items, so... But unfortunately though, I don't think we can able to actually show that off because obviously the actual like, the board itself is almost going to be finished by then. So in this case, he got himself the super pig. And just like the forms of the treasure key, it's only 1 per board. So even though if one of the players gets it, then obviously there is no spare ones. So yeah, I think it's totally obvious here. But I believe... if you manage to able to use the silver pig, what happens is though is the fact that you can able to actually like land on that special event space, specifically on the watermelon section. That way you can able to actually rise up the actual any kind of step you want. That yeah, you can able to actually not only get to the forms of the actual coins and red coins especially, but it's also about the fact that you can get yourself some freebie stars. So totally clearly obvious at this point, and I think this is actually going to be the second time. Well, depending on the forms of how to factor with, the computer players are actually doing pretty good at this so far. But, I don't know. We'll, find things out by then. So even then, though, yeah, once again, we are playing Tall Order again. And do we beat our new record? It might not look like it because, obviously, that we're a little bit behind for that previous records that we actually for about, twice in a row so far, in this board specifically. Yeah, which I gotta hand it to that part right there. Alright, so on to the last 3 turns, so things can get a little bit slightly interesting, but again, because of how the fact that we are far lacking at this point, because that, you know, that Monty Mole got very lucky with that, 13 number roll. Yeah, which is true, because even then, though, that changed all the subjects. So, anyways, though, so Team Monty Mole's in first place, and as to be expected, we're on second place. And, obviously, Mega Blooper will actually tell us something, and it looks like, he's trying to say that our team will be able to actually catch up, and we get ourselves our spare, hidden block card back. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Even though, despite the fact that we actually did already use that, ever since in, you know, the previous turn. So, thank you for that. And as usual, 2 stars appeared, and to be expected, nothing else is being drastically different or anything like that, for the time's sake. So, well, apart from the fact that there's going to be some more allies on our way, but even then, we'll find out for such. So, and as to be expected, the actual bad luck space will about to be appeared in someplace else. But again, it doesn't really tell you where the actual space is going to be. But even then, though, it might be clearly random. Alright, so we got Peach as an ally right there, and there's also Boo on the ally. So even then though, we could able to actually get him from here. But first off, let's go ahead and use that hidden block card. So just in case, we can able to get ourselves a, what else? Another star, such as here. So, naturally speaking, we are somewhat slowly catching up, but until when it gets to the point, until whenever they land on that specific star space on that Pineapple Island, well, I don't think we can actually able to actually, well, we did manage to capture them, catch up to them, no problem so far, but conception to this though is the fact that I would guarantee that they might actually get 2 stars on that particular Pineapple Island. But even then, nothing matters anyway though, because obviously we're gonna be still dominating with all these minigames and stuff. So anyways, this is the golden drink right there. If you manage to use that, you'll transform into your gold of yourself. Kinda like how we did on, you know, in New Super Mario Bros. 2. And especially noticeable with Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS. And especially noticeable with the most recent Smash Bros. Game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, for the Nintendo Switch. And basically what happens is though is that if you transform into gold completely, you can able to walk around for a bit, and as a result, you can able to actually get some coins. So, another hidden block card. Okay, that seems very interesting. Because, obviously, the game is very generous with us with all this, rare items here and there, especially with the forms of, like, you know, that golden drink that we've actually got from the start. And especially noticeable with the forms of, you know, what else? The hidden block card. And there's also a Bowser ally just onto that Pineapple Isle. And I don't know what's beyond from here. Well, apart from the fact that there is Bowser Jr. on the Watermelon Isle. And, wow, once again, Goomba got very lucky with all this little, yeah, this is what I mean. They always get very, very lucky with all this little, roll steps and all that stuff. So, naturally, we are still gonna go back to 2nd place. But hopefully, without any further, like, unlucky situations involved, most notably with the forms of the actual, like, we still have, the hidden block card, and especially noticeable with the double card, then hopefully we can able to predict about the fact that where the star spaces are going to be up to next. But even then, we'll definitely find things out by then, so. And hopefully we can able to get ourselves the Boo as an ally, well, not for the main status or anything like that, but we'll see what happens here. Alright, so the next star space is going to be at the... Oh gosh, looks like it's going to go on to the beginning portion of the board. Hopefully though, that Pom-Pom might get very lucky right there, even for our teammates, but again, we'll find things out by then. So, hopefully we can get a chance to able to get ourselves 4 stars on that particular prize. So, but we'll see what happens there. Okay, Pie Heart again, but this time around though, let's not screw this up this time, because we did manage to lose this last time, so hopefully we get a chance from here. And I think that's as far as I can say about this point, to be honest with you guys, because even then, aside from the games that we've already got, and also at the same time, discussing upon some new stuff that's been involved, and especially noticeable with the forms of, like, in some emphasis on... but there's one more thing before you're able to actually conclude this board until today, actually. About the fact the matter is, though, is the fact that we actually decided able to switch over to our console plugs so far, but it forms that we now switched over to, like, we did manage to have our Sega Saturn hooked up for quite a while, but now we can able to switch over to the PlayStation 1, just because, you know, we already mentioned about this before, that we did manage to order ourselves Rayman for the PlayStation 1, so that way we can get some true experiences for not only by the forms of our own time, just to able to actually complete the series of Rayman games. Well, the only exception is Rayman 3, but because of that though, we're not exactly ready for that title yet. Well, if all depending of how different that game felt, you know, just like in forms of how it does it on, you know, in Pac-Man World 1 and Pac-Man World 2, that they both share the exact same gameplay style. But the difference is mainly due to the actual, like, the generation of consoles. Whereas the 3rd Pac-Man World game did manage to change things up dramatically, because even then, it does have combat involved, and especially noticeable with the open world field, you know, place, or in this case, the actual worlds for that matter. But even then, though, that sometimes games seems to differ, but even then, you get the idea of that. And luckily for us, though, we got ourselves a... you know, the glorious start due to that little hidden block card that we did manage to use. And let's just hope that we can able to land on that specific star space, and we could guarantee to get ourselves, well, 4 stars. And let's have a look. So we got 7, and it looks like Pom-Pom might actually make it. So there we go. And as for, yeah, let's go ahead and get ourselves the Boo as an ally. And we'll go ahead and get ourselves another item right there. So hopefully though we can able to, like, get things stuffed and over with. Well, in terms of the forms of, like, you know. And speaking of such, we got a dueling glove. Speaking of the dueling glove, actually, that there are quite a few events with the forms of that particular dueling minigames and all that stuff. Like the ones we've already saw back in Gold Rush Mine. That was the forms of how the fact that you need to be right on with the actual timer seconds, just like in the forms of how it does it in Star Rush. And especially noticeable with the forms of like, there's gonna be some other ones here and there as well, but we'll see what happens there for the time being. So, but again, it's only excusable by the forms of Partner Party, and I would say also the Mario Party mode, but again, we'll might as well be able to research onto that specific stuff by then. So now we're on to first place now, due to we've got 7 stars. Yep, because of that, you know, we did manage to hold up for that double card the whole time. So speaking of such, the next star is going to be at the watermelon aisle. Okay, we actually got pretty lucky by that time. But yeah, you get the idea for that part right there. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all we can think about with the forms of some more informations and all that stuff. It's just about the fact that just to keep you things a little bit more interesting, to say the least. And, as a matter of fact, that, you know, we are now going to be focusing on 9 Let's Plays for now. Like, you're still going to go back into Shadow the Hedgehog at some point at the very end of April. Well, not just yet though, Pinkie Pie, because, well, I need to think about something before whatever if that Let's Play will be finished by then. And about time for Monty Mall that he's now going to be finally move on to the different island. Yeah, about time for him anyway. And I get a strong feeling that how the fact that Goomba might actually get the next ally, which is Bowser, until the next turn. So, generally speaking, that's all we can cover for. So, Fuzzy Flight School. I think we've played this before. So even then, hopefully we can guarantee they're able to actually just do some lot of more chaotic moments here and there. But even then, we'll definitely gonna have to figure that out. But even then, yeah. No, there's a possibility you can able to cheat your way from that particular minigame. But because we actually did manage to, like, get hit twice. And also as a result, our Joy-Con seems to go all over the place right about now. I kind of wish there was a way about the fact that you can do a calibration system, just like in forms of how it does it on, you know, the game of Mario Party Island Tour for the 3DS. At least in that particular game, it does have your ability to able to recalibrate the actual motion controls minigames. Like, for instance, what's that gyroscope controls they actually included on the Island Tour game? Let's just say Bowser's ballistic blowout, or essentially Bowser's Sky Scuffle on the American version of that game. And I believe also there is is it like Photo and Shoot, or in this case Seaside Snapshot, for those of you who lived in the UK version of the game. And yeah, there is a way you can able to calibrate yourself, so that makes it a little bit more straight over again. Oh boy, this event. Do we get it? Oh, shoot. Ah, damn you, Monty Mole. You got very lucky again. But this time around though, he did stole ourselves our blue allies. So yeah, you're very lucky. Gee, no wonder why that you were there. But either way, we'll just have to, like, cope with as this. But I digress though, so let's just go ahead and see what happens there. And looks like we got ourselves 5 for each, and plus 7, so I would assume that we actually gonna get ourselves our next star. Which, generally speaking, that we actually did manage to make it there. So as you see that right there with the actual, like, the dual mini event, basically what happens is though is the fact that depending on what players they actually get, like, the highest number of card. And basically, whoever gets the highest number of the out of all 5 cards were able to get their allies. So, yeah, basically they managed to heavily borrow some of these aspects from Star Rush for the majority of the time. Well, at least there's only an exception, which is the top 100, because in the top 100, they managed to able to did something slightly different, but somewhat trying to referencing by the forms of, like, get a rope minigame from Mario Party 5, and especially noticeable with oh, what else is there? I think that's all we can think of, other than just the pointless button mashing events, and especially noticeable with the following the button sequence, just like skipping class from Mario Party 9. But yeah, that's as far as we can think of. So, anyways, though, the 20th and the final turn for this particular board, Steve and Nendo, I'm very also seem to be able to say that I'm almost felt quite glad about the fact that this board is pretty much going to be over by then. And especially noticeable about the fact that until next weekend, that we're actually going to be going through the final board in the partner party. And then until by that time, that we can able to, you know, moving on to the next mode. So, yeah, generally speaking, Goomba got himself Bowser after all. So anyways, no final game on Watermelon Walkabout, and that will have to be Cruising for Bruising. So, yeah, but we still have not played Look Sharp yet. Okay, quick error right there, because I need to able to double check on the Joy-Cons, batteries, and anything like that. But I'm sure enough it might still work just fine. I think it's been a while since we actually did manage to play this game from time to time, don't we think? It may look like a Pinkie Pie, but even then though, that might be some consumption. But not like best though. So yeah, that's all I can really think about for the time being for when it comes to the actual like discussions to make through, especially because that once again I must admit though right away. Okay, so it looks like those two duos managed to get knocked out straight away, which is pretty good if you ask me, although it doesn't really matter if we're able to lose or win, because obviously Pom Pom, she was still a part of a team. In fact, the actual girls team might actually rule it all. Yeah, it might look like it, because even then, that after all, I would seem to say that we actually did show off every single characters on screen in terms of the playable characters on this game so far now, so even then though it doesn't really matter anymore, well, except for that one time about the fact that we can able to actually still once again use the Hats brothers again, but a little bit different or anything, but again, we'll find things out by then. So anyways though, now for the detailed results now, or the final results in the Watermelon Walkabout. So yeah, let's just see what happens there. Bonus stars, the minigame star, obviously we pretty much dominated for the minigames themselves. Well, the only one exception is of course Get Over It, because I still find that minigame to be incredibly strict with all this little timing aspects still. Yeah, and the second bonus we have is Stompy bonus. I would say that Pom Pom, our teammates, might actually get this. Yeah, because she loves to able to actually stop on most of these other players, or in this case teammates if you will. So generally speaking, we got very lucky by that. And the third and the final bonus is of course the ally bonus, so generally speaking the other team gets it. Yep, generally speaking, because you know they got they shared the exact same amount of like allies and stuff, but different characters and stuff. So obviously we still managed to win this after all, even though the middle portion is actually kind of mixed bag all in all, but in the end, that we got this in the end. Yeah, especially because of that, due to that double cards that we still have. That way we can able to actually conquer everything for this point at the end. So yeah, that was it basically. That was it for the Watermelon Walkabout, and let's just go ahead and double check of our graph quickly. And yeah, we did manage to able to catch up until like later turns throughout, but even then it's a pretty nice little distraction I suppose. So anyways, detailed results, obviously minigames we got 171 coins as far as we can able to think of. And items, we did actually use a lot of items in this case because of that, you know, block cards and stuff like that for that nature. And also the other team gets like the exact same amount of allies. And as for the stepping star, I think it might be us or something, but again, I'm not exactly sure about that. So, but even I know, Lucky Space, Pom Pom, surely they managed to land on that a lot. No versus spaces, and especially no of those bad luck or extra bad luck spaces after all. But even I know, as for the Stompy bonus, oh wow, looks like it's actually pretty tough between this one, and especially the one at the end, because it was 1 point differences between Pom Pom and Monty Mo. It could be potentials though, but even then, that's pretty much it. With the third board in the partner party mode, and just like in Mario Party mode, if you play all three of those boards so far, you would unlock 10 Treasuring Tower toys. So, join us next time on Let's Play Super Mario Party. The fact that in the next weekend is that we're moving on to the final board in a partner party mode, and that is 10 Treasuring Tower toys. Yeah, this should be fun, so see you guys next time for that. Later fellas and every pony.